In the fall of 2001, America was already bleeding. The towers had fallen, the smoke had barely cleared, and then something else arrived, something quieter, something you couldn't see coming, something sealed inside an ordinary envelope. Letters, just letters, dropped into a New Jersey mailbox, addressed to senators, to newsrooms, to the beating heart of American media and government. But inside each envelope was something that would kill. A fine white powder so deadly that breathing a single invisible cloud of it could shut down your lungs within days. Anthrax. 5 people died, 17 more were infected. Congressional offices were evacuated, the U.S. Senate was shut down for the first time in history, and an entire nation, already terrified, already grieving, was pushed to the edge of total panic. But here's what nobody told you at the time. The FBI believed the killer wasn't hiding in a cave in Afghanistan. The killer wasn't a foreign terrorist. The killer, they would eventually claim, was already inside the system, already trusted, already decorated, already working inside America's own biodefense program, the very program designed to protect the country from exactly this kind of attack. His name was Bruce Ivins, and what happened to him before he could ever face a courtroom is a story that still doesn't have a clean ending. Bruce Ivins spent nearly 3 decades working at Fort Detrick, a U.S. Army biodefense research facility in Maryland. He held top-secret clearance, he was respected, he was considered brilliant. He had dedicated his career to developing vaccines against biological threats, including anthrax itself. He was, by every public measure, one of the good guys. But investigators began to look closer. They looked at his access to weaponized anthrax spores. They looked at his hours logged inside the high-security labs in the nights and weekends leading up to the mailings. Late, isolated, unexplained hours that his colleagues couldn't account for. They looked at his psychological history, which, when it began to surface, painted a deeply disturbing picture beneath the professional exterior. And the more they looked, the FBI believed they had found their man. But what happened next shocked everyone. In July 2008, just as federal investigators were preparing to formally charge Bruce Ivins with 5 counts of murder, he was found dead, an overdose of acetaminophen, ruled a suicide. He never sat in a courtroom. He never faced cross-examination. He never had the chance to speak publicly in his own defense. And just like that, the FBI closed the case. They announced that Bruce Ivins had acted alone, that he was the anthrax killer, that justice in its own way had been served. The Department of Justice released hundreds of pages of investigative documents pointing to his lab access, his psychological instability, his proximity to the evidence. But the questions didn't stop. They multiplied. Colleagues who had worked beside Ivins for years refused to believe it. Scientists who understood the technical complexity of weaponizing anthrax at the level used in those letters argued publicly that the process required capabilities and equipment that even Fort Detrick's labs may not have fully supported. Some investigators who had worked the case early on had pointed in entirely different directions toward other suspects, other agencies, other possibilities before the inquiry narrowed its focus onto Ivins. And then there was the timing. A man dies just days before he is charged, before any evidence can be tested in open court, before any defense attorney can challenge the FBI's conclusions in front of a jury, before the public can hear both sides of a story that changed the course of American history. Was Bruce Ivins the anthrax killer? The FBI says yes, the case is closed. But a closed case is not the same as a solved one. The anthrax letters of 2001 triggered the largest investigation in FBI history, larger even than the 9/11 investigation itself. Hundreds of thousands of investigative hours, tens of millions of dollars, years of surveillance, lab analysis, and pressure that destroyed the lives of at least 2 people who were publicly named as suspects before being cleared. And at the end of it all, no trial, no testimony, no verdict from 12 ordinary Americans sitting in a jury box, just a dead scientist, a closed file, and a truth that, depending on who you ask, may never have fully surfaced. Because here is what lingers, what refuses to go away when you sit with this case long enough. The letters were sent during the most vulnerable weeks in modern American history, when fear was at its absolute peak and the government's ability to respond was being tested in real time. The targets weren't random: senators, media figures, institutions. The letters themselves contained a message, almost theatrical in its design, referencing Allah, referencing death, written in a way that seemed engineered to point blame outward. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. Whether that someone was Bruce Ivins acting alone in the grip of a psychological breakdown, or whether the truth is something the FBI never fully uncovered, something that remains buried in classified files or erased by a convenient death, that is a question the official record cannot answer. 5 people died from those letters. Their names were Bob Stevens, Kathy Nguyen, Attilia Lundgren, Joseph Kersine, and Thomas Morris Jr., a photo editor, a hospital supply worker, a retired bookkeeper, a postal worker, and another postal worker. Ordinary Americans who opened the wrong envelope at the wrong moment in history. They deserved a trial. They deserved the full weight of public accountability. They deserved a courtroom where every piece of evidence was tested, challenged, and laid bare before the world. Instead, they got a press conference and a closed case, and a suspect who took the answers, if he ever had them, with him to his grave. The Anthrax letters remain the deadliest biological attack in American history. The only person ever officially accused is dead, and somewhere in the silence between what the FBI concluded and what was never proven in court, the real story of those envelopes is still waiting to be told.